That's why I like it's not. It's just like this is a guide. It's like here's the guide. It laid out in a logical manner for you to know. Here are the facts.
Right,
You know,
yep.
right?
This is the Imperial Schools of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan,
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
and we are going to be bullshitting about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. Today we are stuffing an issue of Game Player's Strategy Guide to Nintendo Games, issue 3 of volume 2, into our shorts while the gas station attendant ain't looking, and then heading straight to Todd's house because we've been stuck in Bionic Commando over there for weeks. You can find the issue on archive.org if you want to look at the shit we're looking at. I'll drop the link in the show notes, as I always do. Please rate and review the podcast. It makes us feel really good about doing a podcast. And first up, as always, what are we jamming on now? Jay, what are you jamming on now?
First and foremost, Elden Ring. Dude,
Like the rest of the universe?
yeah, the FOMO finally got to me, man. And this game, it's good. It's very unforgiving, but it's good. It's tough, you know. I just bought Cyberpunk, and I was, maybe 20 hours into that and very much enjoying Cyberpunk. And then every time, now that we're kind of hybrid back to the office, it seems like every time I go there, whether it's coworkers or people on different teams, like in the cafeteria, everybody's freaking talking about Elden Ring all the time. So it was one of those things where I feel like I'm missing out, A, and B, like, how good am I? Like, I gotta test myself in this game, So I had to pull the trigger, and I'm sucked in. And
How close to The Witcher is it?
you know what? It feels similar to The Witcher in like very much in a lot of ways, and kind of like the art styles and just like in a lot of ways it does feel Witchery, but then very different in the fact that your character is your design. There are so many different classes, and I don't even know what they're called, but that you choose from. But like normally I'm choosing the mage, like whoever the mage person is, I'm choosing them. But this time I was stuck, man. I was sitting there deciding between, should I be a prophet? Should I be an astrologer? Should I be a confessor, which is more of like a holy magic type of guy? And so like the fact that I sat and thought about that for far longer than I normally do was good. And now, even though I'm in the game, the way that the leveling system is built out, it's so good. Like I'm sitting there spending so much time deciding like, what do I want to be? Like, okay, I chose to be this guy. Like, I should maximize this. However, I know I need a certain amount of strength to wield this weapon over here.
Is it like Skyrim in the sense that, well, no, of course not, because you're choosing something in the beginning. But are you railroaded down that path, or if you decide 10 hours into it, like, no, I'm just going to completely go off the fucking rails and go do something else development-wise? Is that possible?
You mean like completely switching up what you do, or just like deciding like,
Well, is the class system so I don't know, rigid, I guess, that you can't get out of it, I guess. Like if you go 10 hours into one particular track and then you decide like that's maybe magic focused or whatever the fuck, and then you decide, no, I want to become an archery focused rogue type character, can you just like start going down that lane and be able to actually develop that the same way you would be able to develop it if you had chosen something in that lane from the start?
I think so. Honestly, I think so, because that's like the one of the exciting things, but also the difficult thing, because again, unless it's a game like Assassin's Creed where I'm naturally like wielding a weapon, a sword or a spear or something, I'm going to choose the magical character. And so I chose the magical character, but then in the open world, a lot of times it's easier. Like if somebody's coming at me with a sword, like it's kind of hard for me to stand and like cast something. And so I'm
Especially
a lot of
early
times,
on, a lot of games are like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like that too. Like your magic is so fucked in the beginning that you end up meleeing even.
right. And so I was starting to feel like, man, I kind of wish I had chosen the confessor, because I had access to more strength initially to be more melee focused. But a couple things. First, I realized because I leveled up my staff, when I do use magic, like if I'm able to put some kind of distance in between me and the next person, the enemy, and cast something, it definitely is powerful. So I'm like, okay, I just, I gotta first of all get good and figure out how to be able to create more space and cast more spells. And I'm sure there are much more than the two basic spells that I have, that I'll be able to cast. But even so, the fact that I'm finding melee weapons and I'm not strong enough to wield them unless I use two hands, which is fine, but then I can't block anything. But I'm sitting there thinking as I'm leveling up, that I can actually just add points in the strength and just continue to do that. And especially because I found a pretty cool farming spot where it seems like I can continue to just fight these massive crabs over and over and get a lot of runes. I'm like, I could consumably really just level up a bunch of strength and be able to just like swing heavy weaponry just like I would, otherwise. And so I was actually really debating that this morning, and that's part of the reason I was late. I was sitting there on Elden Ring just like, all right, what should I do here? Like, do I stay true to my magical focus and just kind of get better? Because there's certain things, because this game is unforgiving, and that's another thing. They tell you nothing. It gives you guidelines. It gives you like some basic, like, this is this item you found, and you just got to figure out when, where, and how to use it. And so like I didn't even know when I would come up on bosses that because of these items I found that I could call spirits to help me, like NPCs. Like I still haven't figured out how to do it. I know I can. I just need to look it up, and that's part of the thing that I don't want to do is just look stuff up.
That's what I've heard is actually one of the bigger. I don't know, like these cheap ass gamer guys are talking about how that's like there's so much in it that you'll never, like, there's just no way to figure out, like, at least from their perspective. Granted, I'm sure you play anything enough, you talk to the right people. I was almost have to assume that it's somewhere in there. I think maybe just the traditional modern gamer is not equipped / patient enough to find that answer in a game organically, because everything is fucking spoon-fed to you, everything anymore. So I assume it's there, but that's what I hear people bitching about a lot. And like, the one guy's like, I don't want to have to look something up online every 10 minutes. I just don't want to do that, And I wouldn't either, but I also don't want to spend 4 weeks slam my head into a wall trying to figure something out that I can't figure out.
And that's
impossible to figure out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. And so I'm minimally looking things up, but only because it's like I would try to do something and it feels like, for example, it feels like I have to kind of follow the guidelines and kind of go like northwest, but I'm like, this is an open world, I'm going to go east, but I'm like, it feels like I keep dying or something if I go that way, but I have to be able to go that way. What am I missing? And so I was just trying to figure out, like, what am I missing here? Like, is something off? And the video I looked at, this person pulled up their map, and I was like, their map is completely different than mine. Like, what? I just assumed I couldn't see, and that was just part of it. Turns out, like, there was just like map fragments that I haven't found that like give you the ability and stuff too, like that. So I was like,
with Shadowgate, I did that a lot too, and like that's part of being. I think part of being a game, the savvy of being a gamer that's played for for fucking 30 years, like we have, like, or longer even. Like learning to. I don't know, not learning, but like being attuned enough to know when it's not the game difficulty you're banging your head against, but rather just an inability to understand the infrastructure with which this game exists.
Yes.
Like I did that a lot with Shadowgate. I talked about a lot. Like there were most of the time there were puzzles I had a hard time with too. A few of them, I think, but most of the time when I would have real difficulty, it would be because I didn't understand how this worked. I didn't understand how, especially that's a VR game. Like sometimes it's just how to literally, like, I know what I want to do and what I think I know what the solution is. I just can't functionally get to it because I don't know the flowchart of buttons or whatever it might be to achieve the thing. It's not the matter. Yeah. And that's like knowing when that's happening. And obviously you should look that up. That doesn't make you feel bad at all to look that up. That's literally just a UI problem, or your ability to interpret the UI. So yeah, it doesn't hurt my soul at all to look those up. But obviously, you want to make sure you're confident that's what you're looking up, and not
exactly. And that
answer.
That is exactly what I'm looking up too. Like even this morning, because I've figured out how to summon other players to help me, and how to go to other players' worlds to help with bosses because I'm like, hey, I'd love to just get those items and rewards, and hopefully they can help me.
I heard that I listened to a podcast just a night or two ago where they were talking about it, and they were saying that you can like jump in and do choose to do boss fights with like the one woman that's the host on this. She was saying that like she like kept, or no, it was whatever, it doesn't matter. One of them was like they had been banging their head against the wall on this boss, and then I don't know what the flow chart is for having someone jump in or like choosing to do that. I don't know how that worked exactly. Of course, I haven't played it, but this guy jumped in and just like vaped this fucking thing in like an insanely instantaneous manner that like made him feel small at an emotional level. He was like, it was unreal how fast he killed it.
I've heard stories.
That's a cool thing. Obviously, co-op stuff is cool. Especially again, like that was my bitch about Fallout 76. Is like not being able to do that, like not being able to like just questing, have someone jump in, fucking hang out for a bit, accomplish stuff in your world.
Yep.
They leave and you keep going, and like you don't lose any of that, or it's not like a partitioned off fucking area or part of the world, like that's,
it's like you can choose to do it alone or bring somebody in, which is cool. Like you can even password it, so it's like, hey, I only want my friend to come in and kind of help. You know what I mean?
Oh, so you can just open it up and motherfuckers just show up.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing because I don't know. I know people who are playing, but they're often not playing the same time as me. So I'm just like, you can just summon and just whoever's around who's like, yeah, I'll jump in and help out. But but the funny thing about that is that I figured that out and that's helpful. But I'm doing a part where there's nobody around. Like I'm doing the summoning thing, nobody's around. But I know I found this item that tells me I can summon NPCs to help me, and I can't figure out how to get it to work. So this is an instance in which I'm sitting here like I looked it up right before we got on our podcast. So when we're done, I'm gonna go do it because I'm like, why can't I get this to work? Like this tells me I should be able to get these guys to come and fight with me.
And was it just a functional misunderstanding, or was it?
Yeah, it seems like it's just like, hey, you can use this in certain places you can, certain places you can't. So I'm like, all right, maybe I just tried it too close, like right outside the area instead of like closer to the stake or something. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go figure it out. Like, there's no reason I shouldn't make this. This should not be workable. But yeah, man, it's a fantastic game. I'm gonna keep freaking playing it. But other than that, next game, as you can see, Lego Star Wars: A Skywalker Saga.
Is this the same one you talked about last time?
I may have started it. I talked about I was going to buy it, but like I didn't buy it until like now. But yeah, I mean, the whole family was looking forward to this one. So for context, we love the Lego games. Like we have almost all of them. I'm talking when we got our Xbox One, when it first was released, the original Marvel Avengers Lego game. Then we got Lego Movie, Lego Movie 2, Lego Worlds, Lego Hobbit, Pirates of the Caribbean, Batman 3, City Undercover, DC Super Villains, Harry Potter. I mean, should I go on? We love the freaking Star Wars games.
Shareholders love you.
Right? I mean, they're good. Like, especially, like, we pretty much got them when my daughter was, like, 4, right? So she grew up playing those games, because they were one of the easiest types of games for her to play. And who doesn't love Legos, right? So, anyway, so we love them. But we had the Xbox 360 version of Lego Star Wars, which was supposedly like the complete saga. And it's the Xbox 360 version. And so it's just too old. Like when you play it versus newer versions, like the characters can't talk. There's no cinematics. Like the split screen is dynamic and very like wonky. So it's hard. Like you're always pulling your other character, and it's just not fun. So we tried to play through it a couple years ago, and it was just like, we just can't get through it. And so when this came out, I was super excited because it's a completely different game with like cinematics, like fully active characters who walk, talk. Like obviously the graphics are like next gen, like legit real graphics with Legos on top of them.
It's technically just a remaster, is that what you're saying?
No. It's a completely different game. It's not they didn't even take the same game. They just like said we're starting over and redoing all of it. And it has like characters from like not even just the 9 movies. Obviously the last one only had 6, but this has all 9 movies. The Solo movie, The Mandalorian characters in it, and like it has a full character leveling system, which is different. And like, bottom line, if you like Star Wars and have any affinity for Legos at all, you will love this game. It is just graphically better than I would have expected. Like, it's almost like, when we played Sea of Thieves, it's like that level of background everywhere with like Legos on top of it, and it just works. You know what I mean? So, cannot talk enough about that game. So, okay. And it's a kid favorite.
So it's not like what I'm envisioning looking at that is, what the fuck was that game? That Minecraft Whack-'em game. What the hell was that?
Like Minecraft Dungeons?
Yeah.
No, I mean you definitely fight, but it's still Lego, so you're building stuff. Like you're going through stories and cinematics, and I mean, yeah, you're fighting, but it's not like it's not a dungeon. I just mean
in that kind of like, it's just kind of like Minecraft, the dungeon games. It's just kind of like just jamming that button is really all it was.
No, because you have to. There's the way that they do it, so you have to unlock certain characters and come back during free play to do different things and build special things. It's much more than just kind of like let me just hit this button over and over. Okay. So it's more complex to me than Minecraft right now.
Word.
I mean, Minecraft has its own thing. Let me not disrespect Minecraft, but
well, I'm just talking about the dungeons. I've never we've discussed played the actual Minecraft, just that dungeon crawling game. Okay, word.
But high quality. But then, man, also Trivial Pursuit Live 2. Have you ever played Trivial Pursuit, like even the board games back in the day?
No, I have a 20th anniversary version that came out in like the late, I guess, well, probably like 2001 or something like that.
Wow.
So it's like it's essentially it came out in 2001, which is about when I was 20. So it's like it's basically my life. It's like it's a time capsule of the first half of my life. So I mean, it's still fucking Trivial Pursuit. It's still hard. But yeah, I've had that. It's one of the few things I like still have from college. In all honesty, like there's like only a handful of, especially like a board game that has just made it through everything. And yeah, it's so yes, I have. I dig Trivial Pursuit.
Nice.
Sure.
Well, we have as a family like played the original Trivial Pursuit a lot. It was a lot of fun, but we knew that Trivial Pursuit Live 2 was coming, and so we jumped on it, and sorely needed because we got all new questions. We played the old one so much that we were starting to get repeat questions that are kind of pretty easy, and we're like, all right, we need to upgrade. But this one, so many new questions that love to see that. Of course, new avatars, things to get us excited about playing and getting different.
Does it present the questions and like, I mean,
what do you mean?
To think like there's got to be some, like, I don't know, there's got to be some multimedia experience, something going on in it that's not just, it can't be like playing Monopoly on NES. There's got to be more going on.
Well, yeah. I mean,
like, aren't the questions like video? Like what the fuck? Like, is it? It's got to have some sort of functionality.
There's not really video, but there do. So each of the different modes like make you do different stuff. So sometimes it's everybody takes turns choosing questions. Other times you gotta like get there faster than everybody else, so you're moving your cursor quicker. So like there's a lot of interactivity there, and your avatars do most of the stuff, and that's another thing. So as you play and unlock certain question categories, or get more questions right within certain categories like geography or arts and leisure, you unlock different stuff to your avatars, which customize them like so much more than you would expect. So that kind of makes us excited to continue playing after we finish a game, to see like, how do we different?
They open loot crates for you guys.
They did, basically. It's not even crates though. It's like they did it in a very simplistic way where it's like, you answered 50 sports questions correctly. Like now, instead of your base character looking like a chef, you can switch him up, and now he can look like a basketball player or something, or and each of those also has different kind of, it's definitely not just kind of like skin swaps. They did it in a thoughtful way, which just adds just enough of a little carrot to keep playing as well. So very well done.
So do you just pass controller then? Is that how that works?
No, multiple controllers. Yeah, you could do single controller, but if you have multiple, there's no reason to. Like it to me, that would make it much more limiting on all the times where you have to like get there first. Like I don't even know how
Yeah.
you would play that unless they just eliminated all that, and then
I imagine they do, or they could just time it. Maybe I don't know, but
yeah,
still less fun. Okay, word.
Yeah, but those are the main ones. I mean, I'm still, I kind of think I'm kind of getting done with Halo until the next. I mean, which is perfect because the next season 2 is coming out. Like, I need something more to do there, more maps or something. But yeah, those are the main games.
Seasons. It bothers me so much that the video games are referred to in seasons now.
Well, but if you think
Fortnite, when they talk about Fortnite fucking new season, like these, I just want to jump off a fucking roof, dude. Listen to someone talk about a new Fortnite.
Yeah,
season.
but at the same time, like in the case of Halo, it's a game that I come back to for PvP, just because I like jumping in like the battleground level, player versus player action, because it's fun. And so, but after a while, like, it's fun, but I have to keep playing different modes. Like, I started playing free for all, where you're not on teams, and I've been winning, which has been fantastic. Like, that's a mode I never did before, but I'm just trying different stuff because I'm kind of getting tired of the same stuff over and over. So for them to have a second season where they bring in different maps, different modes, different, switch it up, then it keeps the game fresh. So especially for a free to play game, like, I need a reason to come back. It's fun, but not. You got to give me something.
Is it not? What I think is funny about it is, like, the seasons, because it's ranked and all that, and it, like, resets everything. And I think it's funny that, like, I don't know, that you fall so far behind that you're just like, I don't even want to play anymore because I'm so far behind relative to the masses.
Well,
and a new season, like, lets you jump in, even though you still, for this season, are not going to be able to play as much as those fucking monkeys anyways. Or again, you know what I mean? So, like...
Yeah, but I think the way they do it, though, with the rank is that, like, first of all, you don't even have to play ranked, so the seasons don't even matter when it comes to that. The only thing that would matter to is if you got into the ranked matches where you're actually really, really trying. And even then... it's the way the ranked is structured. It's not even like, oh, you played longer than me, so you're better. It's like you do your test 10 matches, and then it places you based on where you landed against other players of your skill rank. So it's like you could jump in, and if you're naturally, like, better at shooters and you place higher, it's going to start you off against other people in that rank who are, like, of similar kill death ratio. So yeah, from that standpoint, like, the timing doesn't even really matter. It's just more if you want to, like, sign up for the battle pass and earn all the power babies on the way. That's the only thing that really matters from a timing standpoint. Otherwise, you're good.
Yeah. Miyagi, gotta get those power babies, buddy.
Yeah, lots of freaking gaming, man. What about you? What are you jamming on these days?
No fucking gaming, man. I haven't had any fucking time. I finished that Maniac. I said I was gonna, in anticipation of us getting closer to it in the timeline, I said I was going to finish it on that Day of the Tentacle iOS.
Yeah. Like
the game inside the game, I did finish it.
Nice.
And, honestly, I was like, I'm kind of thinking maybe I didn't ever finish it. Like, the tough thing is because the game has numerous endings based on the characters that you pick, because each characters have different skill sets that you have to exploit in order to get to an end game, Yeah. So it's distinctly possible that I finished it, but it was a completely different ending, so that's why it seemed so unfamiliar to me. But yeah, I finished it, and it felt very unfamiliar to me. So I don't know if I'd ever finished it before or not. But pretty cool, pretty fun. Surprising, it's I don't know. It's like we were talking about with the Final Fantasy shit in the last side quest episode. It's just like your childhood perception of difficulty and, like, the time spent and, like, the magnitude of your accomplishment. All that is just completely different. 40-year-old adult. It's like I finished it and I was like, that was way easier than I've seen.
Right?
But cool nonetheless. And it is just a fantastic game. And, like, I just can't, like, if you, I've said it a million times already, but if you get past the interface, I think, like, an adult experiencing that for the first, like, if you've never played that game and you're able to, like, fucking look past that clicking shit and the rough ass interface they have, like, the game in there is so fun and interesting and well done and smart and just original. It's just such a wildly original video game or story. I think if you get past all that stuff, it'd be really cool to experience for the first time.
Nice.
So yeah, that's it, man. Other than that, playing fucking Walkabout a shit ton, of course, because it's literally such a, like, pick up and, kind of like your Halo match is just like, I only have to spend 11 minutes doing this, and maybe it's time for bed. Yeah, fucking work's super fucked right now. I've basically taken work. I'm gonna be. I have a thing that starts the 21st, finishes on the 23rd. I got one day off. Start another thing on the 25th to the 3rd of May, and then I'll technically already be 2 days into a feature shooting through the beginning of June in Malibu. So fucking. Got to make that Buffalo Bills money, but yeah, pretty much working nonstop for 2.5 months, which is not how my life usually goes.
Gotta do it. Well, it lines up with me. I think I'm gonna be pretty busy as well the next 2 months, also. So, man,
we'll figure it out. So let's talk about this fucking magazine.
that is the title theme for Bandai Golf's Challenge Pebble Beach.
And that is bringing us into, let's see if we can get it right here. Game, players, that's with an apostrophe, a possessive players, strategy guide to Nintendo games. Which is quite a mouthful for a magazine name. And it is when I first saw this, and I was thinking about let's do this as random rags, and I was excited because I had this issue as a child. When I first saw it, I did not assume that it was that it was a periodical. I assumed it was some sort of, they might have made multiple of them, but it's a special regularly produced strategy guide.
Yeah.
As opposed to a magazine, but no, this is a magazine with volumes, whatever. This is volume 2, number 3. I think there's 6 issues in this particular year, so bi-monthly, and yeah, I don't know, the way the contents are not really magazine-y. That name is not magazine-y. Yeah, there's a lot that's going on with it that's not magazine-y, and so it's funny to me that it was a magazine. But in any event, I believe this is year 2. I think that's what volume 2 means. And this was on newsstands in June of 1989. It's got a $3.95 US dollar cover price, $4.95 Canadian dollar. So they thought this was worth more than Nintendo Power. And
wow.
Okay, player, I see you.
We shall see.
Yeah, it does have 30 more pages, I guess, but there's plenty of ads in here to balance that out. I think there's definitely not more content than a issue of Nintendo Power or Sega Visions or anything like that. Anyhow, the cover is some really, really, really janky artwork trying to convey vibes of Bionic Commando, Skate or Die, and I'm guessing Gogo 13 is that dude there in the bottom left shooting that thing, So, I suppose if it was not in this context, a magazine cover, where I was supposed to associate these things with video games, specific video games, it would probably be cool. This would be a cool illustration. There's no fucking question it's better than anything I could draw. I'll lay that out there right now. But if this was sitting next to an issue of Nintendo Power, that a Todd is picking up the Nintendo Power 100 out of 100 times.
All the time. All the time. This is very, very low budgety. It's almost like the artwork could be pulled straight out of a Marvel comic issue at the time, except for all the white space and everything around it, making it very, if it looks very low budget, I can't think of anything better to say.
yeah. Definitely on the bottom. This is definitely on the bottom shelf of the cereal aisle. Yeah. And there's so much to it. It takes up 25. It takes up 25% of the cover. The title does
easily.
Yeah,
if not more.
And not and not because of some ornate flowery font, but because it's just words. Just too many fucking words. Yeah, and then we got a Zelda 2 Secrets is a band in the top left there. The top right is a pow bubble filled with a bunch of fine print covering the publisher's ass. A Signal Research Inc. publication, not affiliated with Nintendo of America Inc., which you see multiple times in the magazine. So they were super uptight about pissing off Nintendo with this stuff. And then they tease a bunch of games in a little bullet point list on the left there. Under Super Strategy, we have Bionic Commando, Google 13, Metal Gear, Milon Secret Castle, and Ultima. Exciting. And under hits and previews, we have Anticipation, Blades of Steel, Mystery Quest, Operation Wolf, and Skate or Die. And the last newsstand passerby attention grabber is a block in the bottom right that says another. Well, it's not a power bubble. Actually, it's just a block there. 30 hot Nintendo games. It feels like it should be a power bubble, though.
Right? Basically.
Yeah. So
I like that.
yeah.
I like the Zelda 2 emphasis, though. I mean, I don't think I've seen that really so far, and that's a game I never beat. So.
Oh yeah,
you
missed. Yeah, you missed the. Well, there was the what the fuck were they called now? I'm spacing the Nintendo Phone Club News. Like one of the issues was almost purely dedicated to Zelda 2. So there's a bunch of shit in there, and then it was the first year, of course, of Nintendo Power had a nice big meaty feature on it. So yeah, you missed that. But yeah, that I mean, yeah, you know that, and that's we'll get to it, of course, when we get to those pages. But that is probably that's one of like 4 things that I think make this that even kind of nudge this in the direction of a magazine. That and a few other things, because that's actually in the form of letters, which was surprising to me.
I immediately noticed it. Like, oh, okay. Tell me, show me what you got.
So yeah, this is where that I would like to disclaim that the reason we were random ragging this mag is because I owned this issue as a child, and like the random, like I'm not sure how I obtained it. I'm guessing I copped it from a Drug Mart newsstand or something like that, maybe, or like a gas station, like as my little opening bullshit maybe insinuated. And yeah, I was definitely not a subscriber though, and definitely never had any other issue of it. And it does something fierce to my nostalgia core, so I enjoyed the hell out of this reading it. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know where this was, and it's such like a dusty corner of my childhood, that's like.
But think about the newsstands at the time. Like you go to a gas station or a mini mart of some sort, like a UDF, and they might have cool new magazines that you never heard of. And if it's like a subject you like video games, I'm pretty sure that's how I found out about EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, and
For sure.
started loving that because I would go to freaking Kroger when my mom was grocery shopping, and I'm like, I'm gonna go over here to the magazine section and check out the latest EGM. Like that's how that became. So I'm pretty sure
that's a real
that could have easily happened.
That's a real magazine, though. A real magazine that lasts. I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't even know. I'm surprised I didn't look that up. Actually, I don't know how long this lasted.
But even if it's already year 2, you got to think it's on somebody's shelf somewhere.
I guess, yeah. So I assume you did not have any experience with the mag, though. This particular.
Not at all. Yeah, not that I can remember. I don't recall this logo. These words, if you can call the words a logo. No, it was definitely new for me.
Totally unfamiliar. Okay. Well, moving into this monstrosity, we kick shit off with a 2-banger from Acclaim. It's the first half is their wireless infrared controllers. We've seen this many a time. And latter is for Airwolf, the jetcopter flying deal I'm absolutely certain we've talked about before. And I remember talking about the TV show's creator. But the ad does feel new to me, though. I like the title up top. It takes more than guts to command Airwolf. That's the headline. And then it's got a cool teen and a leather bomber and sunglasses. NES controller held awkwardly below his chin in a way no kid has ever played NES before, like so many ads do.
Definitely a director move. Can you hold it up here like this?
Yeah, I need it in frame. Yeah,
by your face.
But this isn't natural. This isn't natural. Don't worry about it.
That's all right.
We'll fix it in post. Yeah, and both lenses, speaking of fixing in post, both lenses on his shades have the same shot of the chopper superimposed onto them. And we haven't had it in a while, Jay. Can we get a cursory?
Get to the chopper!
Yeah. It's been a while since we had some chopper action. Like most of what Acclaim does, this game is meh. There is lots of interesting and solid art, dope title music, which I think we will maybe touch on later. I obviously wrote this before I knew you were going to do that, so that's fun. But the gameplay is whack as fuck, unfortunately.
Yeah.
From there, we move into the table of contents. It gets 2 pages, and it has full screenshots in the outside margins. They look all right. They're bigger than the ones in Nintendo Power, I guess I would say. But the look is very basic. It looks more like a Microsoft Works word processor file than a video game mag table of contents, in my opinion.
Right? I do like that they give us real screenshots, not weirdly cropped shots.
And this magazine in general, I think they could look better. It's not the best capture of them, but it is. Yeah, that's fucking everywhere in this mag. Yeah. Every feature has like 20 of them, So yeah, that is one thing I do like about.
Give me some borders, maybe
Well,
get
yeah,
the font a little pizzazz.
some layout,
give me a little
some sort of-
something there. What you got? Give me a little spice on it.
Yeah, some sort of creative fucking, I don't know, not interpretation, but like some sort of creative influence on the visual that you're looking at, not just It's literally, it's like it's just like the digital version of someone just chucking a pile of photos at you, just like wherever they land. That's what we're gonna look at, and like you're gonna tell me tips about the things in the photos, and you're like, which one?
Right? It's like I'm envisioning, of course, me again. I'm thinking, how could this have happened? This tells me the person who created this, the editor, is just like, you know what? We're all about strategy. We're all about giving the player
content,
just screenshots, giving them what they need to do to succeed.
Data.
That's what we're going to be pure. That's what it is. Yeah.
Hard data. We don't need any. It's like Cedar Point. Like we don't need a fucking like. There's no, we're not gonna, we don't need a fucking garden approaching the Superman themed ride. Like, no. Cedar Point's like, no. It's a fucking roller coaster. Yeah, we're gonna paint it a color and we're gonna call it a bug or something, but there's no bullshit. Like, we're gonna, and next year we're gonna knock down the last one we had, the oldest one we have, and build the newest, biggest, tallest, fastest roller coaster. It's like, it's all about the roller coaster.
Yep. We know what we're about.
Yeah, we don't need the bullshit.
We got our strategic advantage down
Yeah,
pat.
but
Thank you very
Cedar
much.
Point's strategic advantage is better than this magazine's. So every game gets its own line and small blurb here, which makes for more of a bunch of fine print that's likely never been read in its entirety by anyone in all of human history, as opposed to like teasers, which is I think intended to be.
Yep.
The next page has a masthead, a bunch more legalese, further distancing the publisher and mag from the Nintendo of America copyrights and trademarks and what have you, that intellectual property, various intellectual properties that Nintendo might own. And then the letter from the editor is titled Editor's Notes. And Selby Bateman works in a rad in two uses of hottest here that make her sound like a mom trying to sound cool to her kids in a minivan on the way home from school, more so than, someone who's actually cool. Which is how all of them were. So
that's great.
No faulting her specifically. It's just the nature of this. People making content that didn't understand the content they were making for people who were actually consuming the content. You know what I mean? That's how all these magazines were to some degree or another. Because the adults making them did not grow up playing these games.
No, definitely not. These days, very different situation.
Yeah, very different. So then we have that dog tire Taito Operation Wolf ad, bridging us to the game player's mailbag. And again, I've said it a bunch of times, but how much did these fucking people, Taito have in the advertising campaign budget for this game? This ad has been in every Game Pro since the beginning of time.
Hey, maybe their uncle had a lot of money or something, and he was all in. He was investing. He was like, we're making this work. So.
Yeah, this Operation Wolf thing is going to happen.
Right.
And it probably did. I knew about it as a kid, and I kind of remember fondly. And it's actually in the mag. We'll talk about it later. But anyhow, letters, 2 pages of them, broken up by a shitty NES peripheral omitted ad. And right from the jump, we have a fucking gem. 2 of them, actually. Players in Los Angeles, California, and Saskatchewan, Canada, which is where Baker Mayfield's sorry ass is probably playing next season, are both up in arms about a Simon's Quest tip they got from a prior issue of this mag that suggested offering the ferryman garlic does not work in the game. And the editors lead off their reply with, "Oops!"
Forget the garlic. No big deal.
Yeah. And then proceed to explain how they fucked up, and it's actually Dracula's rib and/or eye you should show the ferryman. And this dude, I don't know, it tickles my cold, dead heart. The idea that these two, and no doubt, obviously plenty of other poor Simon's Quest players that read this thing, were sitting in their rooms just banging their fucking heads against the wall, trying to get garlic to work in this it's already a near impossible game, right? So like they probably hit numerous other walls in their playing of it, and they have this little moment, and they get the magazine, and they're like, oh fuck, that's it. That's the answer. Okay, I got the answer. And they go there because they think this omnipotent being, this magazine, and that's now in their life, has the answer. And they go there, and it still doesn't work. And, like, there's just no other information sources available. There's no internet to fact check. They're just sitting in their fucking bedrooms, deceived and hopeless. And it is great. It's just a great, great thought and different time that I just cannot enjoy any more than I already do.
And I'm sitting over here thinking, like, where did this come from? Did somebody just make that up because they didn't know an answer to the question? Like, they didn't really know? Like, how do you mix up something like that?
I want to, well, yeah, we just said the reason, because they didn't actually, it's like,
they just made up something.
Well, it's not even made up. They, like, they just misplay. It's like, the analogy that's popping into my head now is like, a wife sends her husband to the grocery store for fucking 10 things, and he does a half-assed job of listening, and he comes back with 5 of the wrong things because he just doesn't care and wasn't paying attention. And that's exactly what this is. Like, it's the editors and writers, like, whoever the person that sat and figured it out or got the information from fucking Konami, or however they obtained the information, the communication of it to the person who wrote that didn't care. Like, there was something lost in the cracks, and they didn't care, and didn't fact check it, or didn't double check it, or didn't edit it, or whatever the fuck it was, and just didn't care. And then just, like, the wife has to just make do now, She's just got to make dinner anyways, even though she wasn't given the proper tools.
Like, you cross-referenced the wrong ingredients. That was you hit the wrong Excel column there.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is just fucking beautiful. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. That is, yes, of just a different time.
I love that they just kind of glazed over it. Just like, whoops, sorry.
You're right, yeah. Knowing, they're admitting wrong, sure, but they are not acknowledging the actual impact of their actions. You know what I mean? They're not acknowledging the fact that, yes, these kids, this is bi-monthly. So, I don't know. Was it even the last issue? I don't know. It could have been 4 months ago that these kids have been sitting there. They've been sitting for 4 months with this wrong information, just like not understanding. They've probably been proliferating it at school. It's probably fucking, this information is probably moving through masses of children in this misinformation. They're not acknowledging that responsibility at all in their admission of the guilt here. It's just like, I don't want to tell you.
Somebody. I want to think somebody's in the back room of this issue. Like, never admit fault. Never.
Yeah, right.
Deflect.
Yeah, deflect. Just deflect.
We are the experts on everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We're already on the bottom shelf of the fucking cereal aisle. We don't want to go any lower. Don't admit that you fucked anything up. Fake it till you make it. Yeah. Any of the other ones? That was the only one that really did anything significant for me, letter-wise.
Oh, man. Okay, so one of the other ones, it's talking about, like, using the standard control pad being, like, almost impossible to beat a boss. Oh, yeah. So it's the very next one. So, skate or die. It's like, we have found that doing well in the high jump is almost impossible using the control pad. Like, basically get your NES advantage or play a different game. Like, that's pretty brutal. You know what I mean?
That is. Especially that they're so uptight about Nintendo pissing Nintendo off.
Right.
I think it's hilarious that they would do anything to any defamation.
But you know what though? I'm starting to realize, even from the overall tone of this Game Player's Mailbag, like, this is very much a relaxed type of magazine, if we can call that, more akin to like a Discord channel or something, like giving you information. You know what I mean? In a printed form.
I do. Yeah, I have a note later that I think the editorial integrity of this magazine is actually pretty good. Like, I feel like they are far honester, if that's not a word, but it should be, than obviously Nintendo Power is about these games. There's, I think it's Back to the Future, where there's whatever the note is, we'll get to it, but like there's a comment on Back to the Future that's just like, yep, that's true, and it's not good. Yeah, you know, like, so yeah. I mean, I feel like they are actually, you know, trying to be somewhat transparent and forthright about fucking the things that are wrong with these games, and that is incredibly credible, or incredibly commendable rather, and one of the virtues of this magazine for sure. That deserves being mentioned. So we from there have a fucking FCI highlight ad that brings us to You Asked For It, answers to Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, and this is in the form of 3 pages of write-ins they've received for the game, so an expanded mailbag for all intents and purposes. And there are tons of ads peppered in here. They have ISOH Game Up alums, Mega Man 2 and Strider. They have Hoops, Hal's Air Fortress and Vegas Dream ad that we've seen a fucking bunch of times. And the only thing I thought worth mentioning here in the letters for Zelda is actually a letter from Bellevue, Washington. Jay.
Oh.
I guess maybe it's kind of funny that Steve in Sacktown is talking about putting his foot through his TV because he can't find the Sixth Palace. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, the fact that we had a letter from where you live is the only other thing that mattered to me from this. And this is a game I am fucking pretty charged up about, but it was all just very matter of fact, like questions and answers. There wasn't any flair to them, you know. That
yeah.
Really
but I mean, looking through this, like knowing that I never had anything, like nothing of any sort, not even a manual to help me with Zelda 2. Like I would have loved this.
Did you have
like,
Zelda
this
2
level
but not
of
the
detail?
manual?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't
God,
even.
Dude, that's
it's
brutal.
my memory is hazy now, so I can't remember if I like got it at a flea market or a yard sale or something like that. But it, you know what I mean. But I got it whenever I did. It was like clearly later on in the generation. I'm pretty sure I had kind of moved on the Super Nintendo and stuff at the time, and I was like, oh look, Zelda 2, you know, and I'm like playing it with nothing to help me.
Was it the gold one at least?
Oh yeah, it was definitely the gold one. That's what's stuck in my mind. Like, oh, this is so cool.
There might not even have been. I don't even know. They might not have made a gray one of that. I think there were gray Zeldas, but I don't think there were gray.
Yeah, I don't even recall. But it was. Yeah. I tried, and I remember being so angry and just being like, forget this game. Like
no manual. That's tough as fuck.
Like nothing.
Yeah. Now Jeb had it. I mean, yeah. We, you know, I don't know if we ever made it past as kids. Probably past like the third palace or something. Like.
Yeah.
The back half of the game was like I remember game genieing to the shadow at the end, and like even that I couldn't beat it then. I haven't beat it as an adult either. I can't get past the end of the game. I tried what, you know, it was before I was calling them Kill Quest, but I tried doing that early on when we first started playing because that's one of my white whales too, and like couldn't fucking do it.
I won't even go back and try it. Like I would think about it now. I'm like, would I try Zelda 2 again with like guides and tips? I'm like, probably not. I don't know.
The Sixth Palace is so brutal.
I'm sure I can, but I just don't know if I want to.
It would be so satisfying. I was playing it on the
sure.
Switch too. I tried doing it on the Switch too.
Oh yeah.
And I could not beat the end of it. The Sixth Palace was just like fucking a nightmare, dude. It's a fucking nightmare.
I feel like the Switch also has like a new one of the Super Nintendo Zeldas. I can't remember what it was called. I might have to play through it now that you mentioned that.
I bet they do. Yeah.
Add that to the backlog.
Okay, so we have a 2-page spread peddling their various publications. This publisher, I mean. After that, and then they have a real catch-all mag that's just called Game Players, and it covers all the consoles as well as PC, Amiga, and Commodore titles, and that appears to be a monthly thing. And there's this mag, of course, which is bi-monthly, and then they have some buyers and strategy guides for the NES as well, like standalone things. So, putting out a lot of Nintendo content for someone not at all affiliated with Nintendo.
Hey, they're getting in on the game without being one of the publishers. You know what I mean?
Sure,
so
sure.
Do what you got to do, but
get
disclaim all the time: we do not work for Nintendo. We do not work for Nintendo. We're not Nintendo.
Yeah, it was a big pie. They weren't the only ones just trying to stick their finger in up over the thing without being seen. So the first of our Super Strategy features is a 5-banger on Hal's The Adventures of Lolo. So I guess we should talk about the layout style for these. And they are really fucking boring looking. It's probably the abridged version, which we kind of touched on already. There's just no anything about them to look. There's no aesthetic flair at all. It's black text on white for the game title up top. A big box taking up maybe half of the page-ish with a big screenshot and a few paragraphs explaining what the deal is called, and like the headline is the game. So they don't even like I don't know, it's just So, like, no fucking anything. Just nothing. Just the game.
Very stock. It's like there was some kind of like page editor. Just like blocks. And they're like,
exactly. Right.
Text,
exactly.
Text here.
Microsoft, I'm telling you, like, again, Microsoft Works, not Word or any other modern office application. Microsoft Works, and it is a magazine layout, school newspaper template thing in there. You know, whatever the Microsoft Works
with 6 text box options.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like the colors even are like the colors that I would expect Microsoft Works to supply inherently within such template. So yeah, it is just no effort towards design at all. Yeah, and then the rest of the feature is 90% screenshots, which is cool in theory if it had, looked at all good. And then there's just black text on white caption below them, So each
which
page
tells me that just tells me like if this had any type of viewership, and the fact that we're in year 2 maybe it did. I mean, they had to have been making freaking dough. You know what I mean?
No
you have no costs.
Yeah. It's like 3 dudes. They bought probably not even 3 copies of Microsoft Works. Probably 2 copies of Microsoft Works. And yeah, some sort of really basic bitch ass computer because Microsoft Works did not require a lot of computing power. And then the rest of the feature, each page has one solid color shaded box with a tip that doesn't really fit with one of the screenshots, so it's kind of just a text tip with no screenshot support. And that's on every page. There's no artwork, there's no themed colors, there's virtually no artistic effort whatsoever in these things. So it's kind of wild. It's almost I don't know. Again, it's just cost. That's exactly what it is. It's like they're just like just get it out, just get it out and accrue the dollars because there's just no way you could look at it and go, yeah, that looks good. Right?
I mean, the flows make sense. Like the information is good information. It's they're telling you stuff that's important. They're kind of walking you through like the big points of like each level or area or whatnot. So it's like from a content standpoint, give you an A, but your layout.
Dog shit. Yeah, I mean, and there is like Metal Gear, for example. I've talked, that's a game I had, and it's so fucking opaque that I mean, there's no question. And the second I hit that feature, I was like, I could remember like the amount of time I poured over every word in there, trying to find answers for very difficult problems to me at the time. So yeah, the information is great. It's just it's remarkably mundane visually. And there are so many ads. Especially, it's weird. In the first third of the magazine, there are so many fucking ads, and then there's none till the end. I'm sure. You charge more because it's in the first third. I'm sure. Again, I guarantee it's a fiscal reason for that. But it makes for such a shit layout experience. To have that, just all of it. Just pay like 6-7 pages at a time in some cases. Just ads, and then you don't have any the rest of the magazine. So it feels like shit because the first third is just so painstakingly full of ads, especially ones that we've seen a million. They're not even new ads for the most part. So,
right.
They're not thinking about that, of course, but especially from our fucking podcasting 30 years later perspective. But
I wonder how cool this looked. Like, how cool did this seem to you as a kid, though? That's the question. We clearly don't care for the format now, but as a kid,
I said,
how did you feel?
Anything Nintendo was just like a prized possession, man. Like I thought, like, I think what led to me finding this was those strategy guides, the ones with the red. There's a red, a blue, and a green cover, or a red, blue, and a yellow cover, and they were. I think it was the same publisher.
Yep.
I want to say it has very similar vibes to it. Both the cover and just the content, like a lot of it feels samey. But yeah, I had those, and I mean, like, dude, I talked about how my first issue of Nintendo Power, the Super Mario 3 one, I like hermetically sealed the cover with tape. I did the same thing to the first one of those strategy guides. Like, my little psycho ass is like, this needs to last forever. Like, I'm gonna need this information forever. I have to preserve this.
That's great.
So important to me. So I mean, it was anything that was Nintendo related was valuable to me. So there's no question that it did not feel like a piece of shit to me at the time. Right. It was an important piece of information, piece of whatever.
I wanted to level set with the listeners. Like, okay, even though we're talking down about it, like
Yeah.
at the time, probably still this is dope stuff.
Yep. So the ads in here are the Bandai shit we've seen: SNK's POW, Tecmo that with their baseball, football, and ninja. Tecmo with baseball, football, ninjas. / that ad we've seen a few times. And then there's an 8 diddler on Capcom's Bionic Commando, and also yet another illustrious ISOH game alumni. And that was BJ before Jay on the podcast. But I don't know if we've ever talked about this game on here with you. Are you hip to that game? Like, was that a game you liked as a kid?
No, I can't say it is. Like, looking at it, I'm like, this doesn't look familiar at all. The name, of course, sounds familiar, but looking at it, I'm like, I don't know that I really even played this at all as a kid. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
it's one of those.
That's enough. If it's not a deeply entrenched memory, it's probably no memory when it comes to these games in childhood.
Especially looking at like the upper right picture screenshot, I'm like, yeah, I definitely don't recall like any kind of text like that. So that's a no. It sounds very similar to like your, Guerrilla Wars and stuff like that, but
right.
it's not. It's not, like Commando. I think of just Commando, like normal Commando, favorite for many years, but this is not that game.
Sans Bionic. Sans anything
Bionic.
Yeah. No, yeah. To me, it was just, I didn't have a ton. I'm sure I diddled with it a little bit as a child at some point, but yeah, minute memories, if any at all, and like it was just another one of those war games, Like it could have been any one of those other ones. That's a great way to word it. That just, it didn't have any differentiating thing on the surface. Even though it was Capcom, and Capcom, like, we've talked about it before, but like that meant something to you as a child. I don't think it meant anything to me consciously, but it, Mega Man, like they were sure to brand, just like Konami, to brand their stuff. It had a look to it. There's no question that it would have looked a little more familiar to me as a child and any child because of the other Capcom brandings, so.
Yeah. I mean, this is very, very much could have been a game that I rented as a kid, and had it for 3 days, and it's just not that memorable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just like, oh,
well, it's hard too.
Jab
and I talked about that a lot when we did the game app on it, man. Like that arm, the fact that you can't, it's a platformer that you can't jump in is fucking weird, and like. Getting used to that.
Immediately, no thanks.
Once you got going, it's one of those games, startup emotional costs, yada, yada, yada. Like, once you got going and got accustomed to it, it was cool because it was different, but well done, But just as a child picking it up, and again, you're not going to read the manual. You're not approaching it with any level of like perspective. Like, this is different. I'm going to need to learn something new. You as a child want to just sit down and go, and like.
And have fun.
Right. Yeah, it's not that at first. Yeah. So they kick this off by pitching this game in the following way. Take Tarzan, put him in an urban setting, give him an artificial vine, and you've got Bionic Commando. And I hate that description. That's not a good description, I don't think. Tarzan, yes, you're swinging.
I'm like, I don't know if that draws me in. I'm like, I'm more unsure.
Right, that's like a Dick Tracy. Yeah, Tarzan is like in the Dick Tracy category of like far too antiquated of intellectual properties to be appealing to me as a child in 1990, like, nope, sorry. That's
even then,
cool.
They would
that would
come
probably
out
get my dad
like,
to listen to you, but I'm not going to listen to you. You're talking about Tarzan. Yep. So there's not much of interest in here other than at the end of the feature, the last screenshot is the cinematic you get of the island blowing up in the in-game sequence. And I talk about this all the time, how much I appreciate that Nintendo Power is conscious of not spoiling endings and always leaving something for the player to sort on their own in the game features. And God forbid there's actually a little bit of a reward at the end of a game in the form of a cinematic. Like, don't show that to me in a magazine. Let me earn it and experience it and be awarded by it at the time in the game. And like, that's the exact fucking opposite here. And they show you the best thing.
I'm shocked because like later I was actually going to make a comment.
Yeah, they don't do it for all the games.
They're like, they didn't do it, but now.
Right. Yep. I have the same thing. Yeah. Later there's a few. There's one other one. I think Mario 2. I think shows you Wart, the final boss, and I was like, kind of hate that too. So yeah, they're not quite as precious with it in here, and I think that's a bummer.
Huh.
A lot of ads in here too, as there will be with all the fucking things in the mag, and this is where we have the Tiger handheld ad for the Simon's Quest version of it, and this ad looks fucking badass, dude. It fucking looks incredible. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna need to hold my Trapper Keeper in front of my lap as I walk to class after seeing this. Like I mentioned in the thing. Like, yeah, really fucking cool ad. The Castlevania, everything about the Castlevania world is just so cool. All the artwork they ever did for it was fucking great, man.
Definitely saw this one everywhere. I did not have this one, but I clearly remember this one.
Right. You know? Yeah, I didn't have this one either, but yeah, this is one I think I have memories of like borrowing someone's on the bus and like fucking playing it a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this might be even one of the earlier ads for these types of games. You know what I mean?
Probably. So, to be honest, I don't remember a lot of ads for those. I mean, that's kind of. I mean, yeah, I've definitely never seen that ad before. You know, and it's not like, and yeah, I mean, I can't think of a Tiger handheld ad at all. I know we've definitely seen the Acclaim handhelds. We've seen some of the Konami handhelds, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, for example. But I don't think we've seen any Tiger.
Yeah, and I feel like Tiger LCD was also like a big for a while. You know, they were like may have been the tops.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Perhaps.
Not perhaps. Without a doubt, infinitely more. Yeah. They had all the lights. I mean, Acclaim was obviously just doing Acclaim games. You know, so they had some cool licenses, but
like wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. But not anywhere near as many. And then Konami, the only one I ever remember. I think they had a G.I. Joe one and a Top Gun one too, but. Again, just Konami games, you know. So Tiger had licenses for everything. Disney was a later deal. That wasn't part of their initial thing, but they just so many. You know, like that's a fucking Konami game, or no? Yeah, that's a Konami game. Castlevania, Simon's Quest is a Konami game. So Tiger started having that. Must have been it. That was probably how the Konami ones happened. Is Tiger did a few licenses of those, and Konami was like, whatever they paid. To make that happen was that Konami was like, we can make way more money doing that. Like that, a chimpanzee can make these fucking things. Like, look at them. They're like how shitty they are. You know, like, we can fucking figure these out and make them ourselves. And that's exactly probably how that went down. A Trade West joint showcasing dog shit John Elway's quarterbacks in here, and then we have Acclaim is wasting. Speaking of Acclaim, is wasting a full fucking page ad on Othello. And, Othello ain't a bad board game, but a full-page ad for an NES version of it, give me a break. Like, that cannot be well-spent advertising dollars.
I don't even play Othello as a board game, so this does not appeal to me.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I've never owned one in my life, but it was a game that's, like, it was in a lot of classrooms and shit, and I remember, like, playing it every now and
I've seen it around.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You see it on people's shelves.
But I don't know where he lives. And then we have 5 pages that are dedicated to Google 13, and just fucking kill me now, please. I refuse to talk about it.
Why?
I move that we banish it to the ISOH purgatory that we sent the Power Glove to long ago, which we just did earlier. Peripheral omitted. This will now be what is the Victokai game omitted. Second, Jay.
No longer spoken of.
Do you second, Jay?
Second.
Motion passes. Let it be done. Ads here are Hal's Lolo deal. American Sammy has one I don't recall seeing for a game called Thundercade that I also have no recall of the game of. And lastly, we have a Bonwell joint for their quick shot joystick peripherals. And yes, Thundercade's a new game I've never seen, so okay, actually have one to play here. And it is a vertically scrolling arcade shmup that dropped in August of '89. And I fired it up. Did you fire it up?
I did not. I almost did. I almost did, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to pass.
I had to download it for sure. It was not in the fucking library, which you know how that goes. And total dog shit. Yeah, total dog shit. I did like the fun cutscene after the title screen. It's a motorcycle. I posted it on the fucking thing, the clip on the socials. But it's the motorcycle whizzing down the road in front of a city skyline backdrop. The message: urgent instructions: destroy enemies in the atomic power plant. Good luck. And, that's pretty fun. But that is the end of the fun with this game. It's like a scrolling, vertically scrolling. You're on. I think it's a motorcycle. Probably given that ad, can't really tell in game, but it's like a motorcycle. You're scrolling and like it's just fucking. Can't see what you're looking at. Can't tell what's coming at. It's just a fucking ugly, shitty feeling game. So.
Well, you know when they lost me It's when they said that you'll be assaulted by karate killers in miniskirts, and I was like, what are we talking about?
That actually sounds fun.
What are we doing?
That sounds like, okay, they're at least doing something original here. And when you're playing it, it does not feel original. The QuickShot ad is touting that ridiculous 15 million units sold worldwide shit that we've clowned on before. So we've seen that. Quick shots for hot shots is the tagline of a very generic looking kid, or scene of a kid lying down in space playing one of their hulking infrared controllers. So it's kind of a fucking wacky ass ad that is mildly interesting, but we know how.
Right, and with the shadow, he's clearly supposed to be floating. Like, why is he floating? Like, what does that makes him the whiz master? Like, I don't understand. So.
Right, yeah, he's in space. So, what is the shadow being cast on?
Yeah, you're confusing me.
Right. Which is what they're trying to do. That's what we talked about before. Advertising is trying to confuse you enough to where you think you need it, but don't want to ask any questions, or can't ask any questions. That is the Super Dodgeball All-Star theme. And
yeah, hot tracks. Yeah, Love it.
Yep, all three. Yeah, like I said, the golf one had me fucking dying. I don't know why. Just the second it came on, I started laughing. So we kick in the door here with a 5-spot on SNK's Guerrilla War. Speaking of miscellaneous military games, one of many vertical shooter commando knockoffs they spat out, and it's probably not a bad game for the genre, but I'm all set on it.
Dude, how can you not want to play this game? Look at that opening. The CIA tried and failed, etc. Now it's your turn. Like, let's go. Like, I also love the fact. Can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that you cannot select the highest difficulty in this game until you play through
until you play. I didn't.
Yeah,
I actually didn't. I didn't fire it up because we've seen this a long time ago, so I didn't refire it back up. Yeah, no, I mean it's it's like I said, it's not a bad game for the genre, but it's Akari Warriors Command. It's all there's a million of these. It's just I just don't.
Yeah, looking at this though, there's more variation than I thought. Like just being able to get into tanks and kind of do, I know, some different stuff than what I thought was possible with this game. So I don't know. It kind of gave me a little more interest.
I love that about Akari Warriors. Yeah, like the first time. I mean, that's like, even though that is just a notoriously bad game by most people's standards, like I just remember it so fondly because as a child, like the couch co-op and the being able to get into tanks was just like, so cool. Just literally roll those motherfuckers over. Like, great.
Can never argue with being able to do that. I mean,
yep. The only add in here is Super Dodgeball, and we've been there, done that, and just heard the song. Then we have a 5-dinger on Ultra's Metal Gear, and that's another ISOH alum, and one of my personal favorite NES games of all time. And this is where, I realized that this magazine's game features are ordered alphabetically. What a weird fucking decision for the game mag, rather. That's another reason why it doesn't feel like a magazine to me. Like alphabetical? That's a glossary or an index. That's not a magazine.
That's why I like it's not. It's just like, this is a guide. It's like, here's the guide. It laid out in a logical manner for you to know. Here are the facts.
Right. That's a great. Yep. That is exactly it. So these pages on Metal Gear, coupled with the amazing pack-in map that comes with the game, are, like I mentioned earlier, how my underdeveloped little child mind was able to functionally navigate this less than obvious game in any way, shape, or form. And they even touch on this in that table setting box with, here's the copy. Metal Gear is so challenging that the manufacturers even packed a detailed map of one level of Kataffi's layout in each game box, something few NES game makers have ever done, as if daring you to win even with such an advantage. And that's hot.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, this is
I never played it.
Oh, dude, you missed it. It's another one. I mean, I think you could. This is something I think you would actually enjoy. This. It's fucking weird, and it's kind of broken in a lot of ways, but it's just there's so much cool shit, and there's enough kind of arcadey gameplay in it that I think you could have fun with it. I think you would have fun with it. You probably wouldn't be able to beat it, but now without looking it up immensely. But I think that you would definitely at least enjoy it because there is enough at first it has that startup thing of like, because it's definitely a stealth-minded game, and you have these early game moments where you start off with nothing. You don't have a gun or anything, so you have to like work your way to the weaponry and the accessories and shit that you get that make the game really cool. So there is like a little bit of a startup emotional deal, because you're gonna like that first jungle sequence where you got to punch your way through and just run from everything. Like it's so different than an NES game of the time in that you have to approach.
Isn't this the predecessor of that Renegade game or something like that?
The Snake's Revenge.
Yeah, and I hate that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, I know. That's what I said. Like that, it's the same but so different, dude. It's not. Okay. Yeah, it's not. It's completely different. Completely different game, and this one is so much better. So much better. So yeah, definitely don't lump them into the same thing. I mean, there are certainly overlaps and there's frustrations in this game, but it's not anything like that game, I would say. Yeah, but huge part of my NES-dom as a child, this game. Page 51, the screenshot and caption about the swinging bridge is just fucking tattooed into my memory banks, dude. Like the slow motion, if your controller is equipped with it, is a big help. And I thought it was just so fucking cool that my controller, the NES Advantage, indeed did have this highly specialized functionality, It's like, it might be the only thing I ever used it for in my entire childhood that was any, like, real functional benefit, Like, that actually had, like, an in-game, real-time use that was helpful. Other than that, it was just a gimmick to, like, quickly pause and unpause games. Thank Josh Allen they didn't spoil this game in these pages. I could be even more irreversibly broken as a person than I already am if they had, because this was like this, and again that map where like the things, they were like my Bibles while I was trying to get through this game. So like I think I ended up having to use a password to get to the end anyways or something. But whatever the case, however I finished it, like it was just. If that had been taken from me, that would be horrible. I'm so glad that it wasn't. So that's nice. Next is Metroid, and this is another feature in here I remember leaning on heavily as a rental of the game, or with a rental of the game as a kid, and like on the living room floor of my fucking childhood home, in front of the big ass TV, like on the floor with the fucking map and the thing, like. Look at it. So yeah, this is 5 pages again, and they show all the way to the end again also, though thankfully nothing from the actual in-game sequence. Like they show Mother Brain and shit in here, and the tunnel descent to her, and that's fucking sucks, So.
Dude, I've never basically played this game, so like, especially considering the number of Metroidvanias and stuff, like this basically spawned a genre. So
dude, this is great.
I definitely read through this one, and yeah, I don't know, man.
You should play this game.
It's interesting. Like, there's so much here, it feels like. The fact that they're telling you about secret areas that you need. Like, I feel like this is something I would need.
Oh, for sure, dude. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, you have to. I mean, I said that, yeah, I did. I think this might have been the first one. This was like, when I was like, okay, I'm doing this pod now. I'm going to conquer some of these white whales. Like, this was the first one I did, I think. And so fucking hard. The end of the game is so fucking hard. Mother Brain is so hard. And so much of the game is difficult as fuck to play through. But incredibly satisfying, incredibly good game. Like once you like develop the skills of the game, it is so fucking good and satisfying, and it works so well. The mechanics and shit are so good in the game. I can't recommend this one enough, man. It's like,
yeah, I didn't even know the backstory and stuff. So being able to kind of read it here, like I really like the introduction. I'm kind of more intrigued, which. It's funny because this is just another franchise that I just missed. I didn't really play it. So, as sequels and things have come on, like the new remaster that came out last year, I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm just not jumping in, kind of like all the other ones, So, I don't know. This has me a little more, my interest peaked a little more than I would have been.
Yeah, I played it a little bit as a kid, enough to be fascinated by it, but never really got anywhere, and it was too hard and difficult to stick with, and I didn't own it. It was a rental situation, maybe once or twice. I didn't play it enough as a kid to be entrenched in it, and then I wasn't on the Super Nintendo tip, so that's like the one that everyone says is the best of all time, the Super Nintendo version. And I've tried like firing up and dabbling with it, but again, because I'm just don't have any nostalgia for it at all, so I never played it back then. Like it was, was not enough to make me stick to it. So it's another one of those instances where like when we get to it, in the timeline, like that's one I think we have to embrace because it is regarded as like.
You know what's funny about that? My son plays that one, like
Really?
on the Switch and on like the mini Super Nintendo. Like he has played like multiple times, and
It's
he,
supposedly incredible.
And I've seen him gone back and forth, and at times I've been like, why does he keep playing the same level? And I think there's an element of, hey, he's young, so he's played the same parts over and over, but also because you have to backtrack.
It's a huge backtracking game for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm fascinated, intrigued.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, I was curious if you had any experience with it at all, because that all happened before you jumped out as well. That's like first year NES or Nintendo Power stuff as well. The Metroid.
Yeah, this like reading through this, I kind of didn't want to keep reading after the first couple of pages because I didn't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I need to play this game. I don't know.
You definitely should.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard as fuck, but you should. And yeah, it's one of those ones. I mean, I was saying when I was going through, I was like, you got to map. Like it's not. You have to map. You cannot. Or have a map, one or the other. I didn't map, but I was looking at a map because it's the only way to.
So you have beat this?
Yep. I beat it since we started the pod. Yeah, yeah, it's hard as fuck. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, my boss battles. I have the video up on the YouTube. I was fucking. It was hard, man. I was angry. I was very angry. That final room that she's in is it's fucking rough. From there, we move on to Hudson Soft's Smiling Secret Castle, and I just can't even begin to say anything about this that we haven't already covered long ago. It's not a particularly fun game. Not bad, but not good. And then Tecmo gets the spotlight with Ninja Gaiden, and the table setting blurb dropped some knowledge on me I did not know prior to this, so that was kind of fun. Gaiden is in Japanese means foreign telegram or communication, a reference to the letter which motivates the quest. And I'd never known that before about a game. I certainly have a ton of, connection to between having it, Jab had it, and just, it's a game I've always loved. Very fucking fun, and even in its difficulty is, to me, one of the better games on the system. I also love the end of that box. It says, in the crowded field of ninja games, this one truly stands out. And acknowledging the ninja options, I dig that. There is some bad...
How have you... Like, there's no way you had a Nintendo and didn't play Ninja Gaiden, I feel like. Like, this is just one of those games that, like, yeah, everybody... There's going to be classics, but this is just... You trade it. You probably didn't beat it. You might have beaten it. You probably didn't, but you definitely played it.
Dude.
Yeah.
It's another one that I've never beat. Yeah, I mean, we keep talking. It keeps popping into game fucking nomination things. I'm like, this is the one I want to beat. It's hard as fuck. I'm gonna be miserable.
I picked it up like the last time, like messing around with it, and I was just like, yeah, of course I remember all this, but I don't know if I'm just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, with save states, and I would definitely save state the fuck out of it. Could get there, but it's rough. The end of the game is very brutal. There's some bad advice on page 64 regarding the boss in the bar at the end of stage 1. They tell you to do the thing where you scoot, and they use that word in another caption on this page, so I'm adopting here. You scoot up the wall by clinging to it, then jumping off and back onto it a little higher. So it's like a little incremental thing you can do to climb up walls. So like it's clearly not like, I can't fathom they intended as a developer thing where they want, they expected you to be able to do this. It was just something that kids figured out to exploit the game, I think. And you can do that here, and it can get you high enough to avoid the boss below, but it's much easier to just run up and spam the shit out of him rapidly enough times, just out of the reach of his club, to kill him before he meanders over to the left wall, So, like, yes, that would work, but it's not the optimal thing, so.
Right. Thanks for the tip, the option.
Right? Yeah, I guess, yeah. Thanks for giving me some options, but...
maybe we'll try it out.
Yeah, I'm all set on that. I got a better idea. The next fiver is on Super Mario 2, yet another ISOH Game Up alumni. And the bottom of the table setting box in italics reads, need more help with Super Mario Bros. 2? Look for the new Game Player's Game Tape, a video cassette tape featuring all the secrets, hints, and tips you'll need to free subcon from Wart. Order the tape from Game Players or look for the tapes at your favorite Nintendo store. And yes! VHS, low-budget, non-union video game industrials, Jay. Give them to me. I would audition for the fuck out of these babies. Did you, I looked them up, you bet your sweet ass on the internet, too. I found a whole playlist of all of them. And they're all,
really?
45, I wish I had enough time in my life to watch them all. They're all, 45 minutes long. And they are just fucking... Oh, they're just exactly
before there was YouTube. Here's your walkthrough.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, there's I think it's 15 of them that were in the playlist, and that's in the show notes, of course. And you can kiss your fucking weekend goodbye once you start down that rabbit hole. The first one on the playlist is, in fact, the Super Mario Brothers 2 one referenced here.
Of
too,
course,
so
I mean,
yeah,
this is
like,
respect Mario. I mean, come on.
Yeah, must have been there. Maybe it was their kickoff, or maybe it was like the first one they produced.
I mean, if you're gonna bank, you're gonna bank like a new product on something. Mario, duh. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, very true. Very true. There's nothing else doing here, though, in my book, other than the fact that they show Wart at the end. And then the next one is Ultima Exodus. And, dude, I was so excited to see this. I read every single fucking word in this feature. This might have been the only one where I read every single word, because I needed to know so badly, like, their interpretations of it, what they might recommend, yada, yada, yada. And also, I cannot believe you quit the side quest.
Oh, my gosh. I cannot believe you kept playing the side quest. Like, this game is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible.
Yeah. At times, I agree. And, oh my god, I knew it. I knew there was going to be some shit like this. On page 75, they mention how you can't share food or divvy gold. And that is because they never found that submenu with those commands, which we talked about in the side quest. How I think it was Jab, or maybe both of you, and I don't think I knew it at first either. I eventually found it, and I think that's how you guys got tipped off.
Definitely remember that.
But yes, you can go to a submenu. You have to, once you pull the menu up, you have to hit select again or whatever the fuck the sequence is, and it pulls up another submenu where you can do these things. So, like, again, the experts that played this game, I just knew that there would be something that they were wrong about and didn't know, because the game is that fucking you know.
I mean, it says here is a Nintendo game for serious gamers. I'm like, yeah, serious as in you seriously have time for nothing else, and you're just figure this out and bang your head against the wall, I guess. But
first, like, 6 months or however long it took us to get through that side quest. And they also do not understand the Moongates functionality based on the copy dealing with it in here, and it's just and it's another testament to just how fucking hard and opaque this game is. There's not a single ad in any of these. This is what I was talking about earlier, and it's a wild thing considering the plethora of them that are in the first third of the mag. So it's just crazy that they just completely go away for this second act here.
Yeah, maybe they just had a limited number of advertisers, and they're like, well, this is going to be part of our.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, it had to be probably because
we'll put you in the front half of the mag, like, so even if people kind of stop reading,
and they probably
they'll see you,
Yeah, either that or some sort of like making it more attractive to the advertiser or charging the advertiser more. One or the other, for sure. Is
something.
The idea behind it, but still a little goofy looking. After these messages,
we'll be right back.
I'm playing the Back to the Future Nintendo game. I'm stuck in the past and I gotta get out. Quick, or we all fade away to nothing. Uh-oh, bullies. Ah, you missed. Have a mark, musclehead. I'll clean it up, Mom. I promise. This takes perfect timing. Almost. Mom? Dad? This?
Back to the Future. It's almost like being in the movie. An interactive game from LJN.
That is a U.S. market television commercial for LJN's Back to the Future. And it highlights all the rough aspects of that game, I think.
Right? It's not really. I don't know if that one's selling me.
Yeah. It does. We'll talk about it when we get to it here in the near future of the mag here. But I loved the picture fading thing. Is a really cool timer application or implementation rather, and it was something that even when I read it and I hated the game because the game is awful.
Of course. Or
at least the base part of the game. That aspect of it too, like I remember it very clearly. It is seared in my memory, and thinking that was very cool, and like that was like somehow enough to keep me playing it for the whole rental. Just that fact of that picture, like the way that worked, was a very cool and different thing. So some good ideas in there, but
it was still important.
Yeah, like so many LGN things, like maybe some good ideas in there, but not really a well-rounded fucking title.
Accurate.
Yeah. So the mag now shifts gears to another alphabetical lineup of games. So they restart their alphabetical lineup with what is, so like on the cover it was Super Strategy, and then whatever the hell the second list was. This is like another part of the mag, supposedly, so
Yeah.
they reset their alphabetical order on the games, which is, I don't know, it's fucking...
Basically, these are the less important games. We're going to get minimal coverage,
Right.
but we're going to talk about them.
Right, so yeah, so these are now 2 bangers instead of 5 bangers, or 8 bangers for some of the early games on the first list. And there's not a lot to say about these, so I think the more constructive way to approach this part of the magazine, Jay, is if we just pick 3 games from the pile to chat about the feature and the game itself, alternate one back and forth for 6 of them, because we're not going to talk about each one of these pages. There's just not enough interesting going on. So, Jay, what is your first game that you would like to speak of from this?
You know, I'm picking games that are interesting and something grabs me about them. And so the first game is really not because of the game. So, Air Fortress. And not because I care about the game at all, clearly. We've talked about this. However, I do find it fascinating that to start it off, kicking off this new section alphabetically, they tell you in the first big blue box, like very front and center, like there are 8 levels, ... The password to Fortress number 8 is sugar. Here it is. Like there's
Yeah, I didn't
so
find
like
that.
it's almost like, do you care? Is this just kind of like, yeah, these are throwaway games? Like play them if you got this
Right.
game.
Exactly.
Feel free to
yeah,
beat it.
like here's this video game. If you feel compelled for some reason to like have it in your, I don't know, history, but don't want to spend the time getting there, here's a way to achieve that. Yeah, it's a very...
Or maybe
yeah,
you're stuck with like this one, and so like this is all you have to play. So
right, yeah.
let me
And
throw
if this
you
was-
a bone.
Yeah, if this was literally in any other part of this feature, it would mean something different. But in that first box, it has a completely different meaning. Yeah,
Right?
it's good. It's very...
But otherwise, yeah, nothing else to say about Air Fortress.
Yeah, we definitely dabbled with this before. It's not a good flying shmup at all. Well, my first one is indeed LJ fucking N's Back to the Future. And yes, I have a bit of a nostalgic infatuation with this game. It was a one-time rental for me. I can't imagine what incentivized me to do so. I don't recall being particularly Back to the Future minded as a child. Like, I watched it. It was entertaining, but it was just another movie to me. And
Yeah.
it definitely... You know, I wasn't looking to put like any and everything Back to the Future into my veins as a child. You know, that was not a mindset I had. But I copped it anyways, and I remember like liking some aspects of the picture fade away, like I talked about already. I really liked the Tapper knockoff mini game where you're in the, because like each stage. So the way that this game works, you have like these street stages where you run through these stages, and it's like a really really shitty Paperboy kind of with like all these just random ass obstructions and obstacles that you have to deal with. Like there's two guys literally just moving back and forth with with you can't even see it. It's not, you can't see it until you run into it. A piece of glass. So they have something between them, and they're just moving back and forth in the middle of the street. Like, where are you guys taking that, assholes? You know, like, what's your fucking plan?
What are you doing?
Right. So yeah, there's just a bunch of shit like that that's just like randomly in your way. There's bees, I remember, just like a bunch of shitty things, and you have to keep picking up clocks throughout the level to restore your rapidly fading picture at the bottom, your timer, you know. So, and the functionality sucks. I remember there's like a skateboard thing you can pick up where you go faster and it makes it harder. Like, you know, it's like terrible game. But you finish each stage and there's a little mini game, and like the first, at the end of the first stage, I believe it is, you have like you go into the malt shop and you have to throw out the malts from the counter. You're at the counter and you're throwing out steins of malt at the bullies that are running in, the dickhead frat boys that are running in and trying to knock you out or something. So the biffs, essentially. And so like, that was pretty fun, you know. And I think there's a school one after the second level. Like those games, the mini games, I remember being fun. I couldn't get anywhere in because I know the end of the game. I've seen it. It's even that commercial where you're racing the DeLorean down the street and you have to get hit by the lightning bolt at whatever. I think it's like a certain time or something, which insinuates to me, by the way those are falling, that you are going to have to play that a bunch of times, fail, and memorize where the bolts are to get hit by the bolt right when you're at the right speed, you know. So God, I just can't imagine how hard that is. I've heard it's fucking impossible. But I never got there as a child, or even, you know, I can't even stick with it enough as an adult to come close to getting there, even with save states or anything. It's just too horrible of a game, unfortunately. But I do have this nostalgic thing for it in any event. And a thing I noticed in the mag blurb here, and this is one of the things, this is what I mentioned earlier, like they are doing a pretty good job of like trying to give objective opinions on these games in here. And this one has something I thought worth reading. Back to the Future is a little bit like Paperboy on a quest. at least in the screens where Marty is skating through town. At each major stop along the way, the malt shop, the school lab, and so on, you have to master an arcade-type subgame in order to reach the next level. Graphics are okay, and fans of the original movie, those who don't mind a rather thin connection between the video game and its cinematic source, will find it interesting and playable. Like, interesting and playable is the least flattering thing you can maybe say about a video game without direct, like, outright defaming it.
Dude, that's like those movie reviews where it just says like an interesting take on a classic. It's like, okay, interesting.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Yep. So yeah, but this is smart analysis of the game and very, very accurate. Like, all those things are just spot on right about it, and that's it's cool and interesting title too. Certainly something I have some nostalgia for. So what do you got up next? What's your...
All right, next up, Blades of Steel. Yeah,
you missed it. You missed that game app. Oh, dude, that
yeah,
it's so good. It's so good. It's such a good game.
What else do I say? I mean, it's fun. It's one of those things that I forget from time to time, but I confuse this and ice hockey because I played ice hockey so much, but that one clearly visually
so different.
Yeah, visually so different. But like, I looked at this and so realizing that it's telling me that this is probably like one of the best sports simulations. Like when you just Google best sports NES games, this comes up. And so I'm like, as much as I love ice hockey and that's my game, like what do I know about this? Have I played this? And I picked it up. Clearly it's easy to play. Like it's not hard to figure out. It's fun. This is a blast. I did so much fighting. Like,
there is. It's almost. I almost want. It's such a fun and cool part of the game. So I know why there's that level of focus on it. But it does feel like maybe it's a little too frequent. I think
Dude, I had 3 fights in the first period. Like I felt like I was in Delta Chi hockey. Like I'm only there to punish. I can't skate. I'm just gonna fight. Like
Yeah, it is a little heavy on the fighting. I agree, but that it executes that well too. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, dude, it's funny random crackerjack fact for you. The last time I recorded an episode of this podcast in a hotel room was the Blades of Steel game app.
Really?
That was in Minnesota, I believe. So that's a fun fact.
Figures.
But yeah, dude. Yeah, it's a really fucking good game, dude. Really fucking fun and like fantastic head to head. Like Jab and I had a blast playing that head to head. It's a really good game.
I can only imagine.
Another testament, dude. Like we said it a million times, but I just cannot believe how much fun I find hockey games, despite zero interest in hockey.
Right?
It blows my mind.
Why is it like that, dude? Like I remember because of ice hockey and games like this. Like I remember playing in the freaking not just the Super Nintendo generation, like maybe even like Nintendo 64 generation. Like still playing like NHL
Breakaway 98. Like, NHL Breakaway 98 is one of my favorite sports games of all time. It's so good.
Why do we like them? And like but yet like I'm not watching hockey on TV.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Like I might start. I might check out the Seattle Kraken up here.
What it probably means is we're just stubborn dickheads. Is probably what it means. Hockey's probably fine to watch. I don't know.
Well, in person, it's freaking awesome to watch.
Yeah,
like
that's
TV.
That's what everyone says. That's what everyone says. Word. Well, yeah, it's a great game for sure. Ultra's Gyrus, an arcade port space shmup, is my second choice, and this is the one I actually talked. The reason I picked it, I think, was because I talked about it last episode, and I was right about guessing this one being it, but it's the one relating to the boss battle, the space station stuff and boss battle stuff in Captain Skyhawk that has kind of the Tempest tube vibes to it.
Okay.
This is the one where you're flying down, like you're spinning around the circumference of an unseen tube and flying straight away from the player POV, and it's really fucking cool. And I'm surprised more of these goddamn flying space shmups didn't go this route to mix it up with, because it's a completely different approach. I don't know of one other place I've seen it on the NES, to be honest with you. And the fucking game is great, dude. It's like really, really, really fucking good. There's some serious effort towards story and world building and the opening sequence shit. The actual gameplay is fun. And it's fucking Konami, so you know the fucking tunes are fire.
Of course, are we really shocked? Like so many tunes in this app, man.
Yeah, And there's some great tips in here too. And the one in the pink highlighting the vulnerability of the enemies when they first come on the screen at the play area edge seems like critical knowledge if you're going to take this baby down. That seems like a really hot pro tip, I think. Knowing that you're invulnerable. And I'm sure, play the game enough, you would interpret that. But that sounds like really hot knowledge for sure. And there's a bunch of mentions in here, packaged in joke form, no less, of how difficult the game is. It says that there's 36 levels. Eek.
36, man. That's a lot.
That's a lot of flying shmup levels. That's a lot of flying shmup.
Gotta love it. Gotta love that, John. They gotta have some variability in there, man. Otherwise, that's
it's gonna get rough. Yeah, for
that's
sure.
tough.
But I mean, again, just like I said, the core of it is so much different than what you're accustomed to with those. That maybe, I'm intrigued. Again, like it will be hilarious if we do 2 flying space shmups in a row. But to me,
I'm interested. I did not pick up and play this, so now I'm like, man, I got to play this after we're done. Like, what are we talking about?
It's good, dude. It's easily top 5 on the system, like right there with Life Force and probably better than Captain Skyhawk.
Probably.
Yeah. So what do you got up third?
Excuse me. All right, what we got up next is Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh my god, that's my third one as well.
Was it really?
Yeah, mind-blowingly returning to LJN well for the third title.
I mean, it's funny because I hate this game. Like, I do hate this game. Like, I don't enjoy it. I've tried it. We tried it. I played it again recently since we've started podding together. Like, just it's such an odd game, but such a classic IP, movie-wise, that it's like, are there more tips that could help make it better? Like, what am I missing? Maybe this will be the tip that'll help get me over the hump.
I got it. Yeah.
I mean, it's still Roger Rabbit, and it has great screenshots, but yeah.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, we talked about this game and the flick a bunch back when it first had its Nintendo feature. And, I don't want to get too much into that shit, but I read it as a child. It's like I've always had this soft spot for it, thinking if I could just get past the awful action mechanics, like Valiant's battling, the punching and stuff is so terrible.
It's so weird.
And it's really, really fucking tedious. But there's like really good chase aspects, and like the idea of like all the inventory stuff is cool. We've talked about that phone number shit is fascinating. Like there's just so much about it that's fucking cool and interesting. But yeah, the really tedious thing about it is you have to go. You're just going into one nondescript building after another and randomly searching for shit. And if I could get past that, I think the game would be fun, And I also just kind of want to fucking beat it. It's like it feels a little white whaley to me because it was a game like Jab. I remember renting this one with Jab before he even moved in. Before we even moved in together. Like at my dad when my dad was dating my stepmom after my parents got divorced, and I would go to him for the weekend. I remember being him and Jab and I hanging out and playing this game together. I mean, Jab was probably incapable of playing. Actually, he was so young. He was probably like fucking, I don't know, fucking 6 or 7 or something. So like, yeah, I mean, there's something there that I really, really want to fucking finish. And reading through this, sparked me thinking maybe this is it. Is in the on page 116, there's the featured tip in the yellow box, right? It says, Roger Rabbit is another game that requires mapping.
Exactly. Right? I'm like right up your alley, like, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah.
No wonder I hated it as a kid. Like, if I didn't think this was something, if this is not something I'm normally doing, and you're telling me this requires me mapping, like, I didn't even have a manual, I'm pretty sure. So, what are we talking about?
Right, yeah. So, and it's funny, like, it's never even crossed my mind to map this game at all. But it goes on to say, your maps don't need to be as detailed as they would in some other games, but you do need to be able to get to buildings you haven't yet searched without a lot of backtracking. Once you find the dynamite and blow up the wall blocking the Toontown tunnel, your search will start all over again with another map. And yes, that is just, oh my god, that's fucking it!
Like, that seems like a different kind of process than
exactly. And it's almost, you can almost, it's just a visual, honestly, it's a visual list. Just to keep you, it removes the randomness. It gives you a very defined problem set that you have to tackle one by one. And I just, my fucking binary mind just can't, analytically, I just can't get enough of that idea. So yeah, I think that is the ticket to getting somewhere in this game, and like having a visible progress through line that you can fucking follow to get somewhere, you know, and like I think that might be it. And it just I can't believe it never occurred to me because fucking mapping. Like, how much graph paper can I get into my life? How soon can I get more graph paper in my life? I just can't believe I've never thought of it. So yeah, man, that's interesting as fuck to me, and it gives me a reinvigorated hope that maybe this is a game that I can one day finally finish. You know,
it's funny because this is the second instance that it's mentioned mapping that I've seen in his. The other was Metroid. I was super excited. Like I think I'm gonna nominate this as a game to play. And then I looked at it and it was like, mapping is critically important. Blah blah blah. And I'm just like, oh, maybe not.
That has to be. And yeah, that one's tougher too.
But I know you played through it, so
yeah. It's also, I think it's too much for a game episode, to be totally honest with you. I think it's too big. Yeah. But because it's not like that, you know, top-down RPG type thing at all. So, like, you're talking about mapping, like, real space. And it's just, you know, it doesn't need to be exactly to scale, although my anal retentive ass would have a real hard time not making them to scale, which is probably why I never, you know, even tried to map it. And even when I was doing it now, like, playing it for when I played it, like I was just using a map. Like, I just looked up a map. Because there was no way I was going to be able to do it well myself. It's too whatever. So yeah, I mean, it without a doubt requires that for sure, for fucking sure. Having some understanding of your space and being able to know where you're backtracking and where things were, because there's no way to just do it from memory. There's no fucking way. I don't give a shit how photographic you might be. There's just no fucking way. Yeah. So they switched gears again to get into some more cerebral journalism, and the column here is titled "Alternative Games Getting the Most from Your Nintendo." And while there is seemingly zero chance I actually read this as a child, I feel like it is a pretty goddamn spot-on encapsulation of my video gaming sensibilities, like all these years later. So maybe I did read it, and I just don't recall. So the copy right here, I think, says it all. For those who want to rest their trigger fingers, though, there are some Nintendo games that feature no cosmic clashes, no mass demolition, and no martial arts. These include sports games, board games, and action adventures. And maybe not board games, but the other two are where it's always been for me with an NES game. And, you know, like, this is basically like 3 pages explaining how, like, they get into the appeal of the cooperative play and strategy shit, and I mean, you know, that strums the shit out of my video game guitar. so like, yeah, it's basically, it's calling these games alternative video games at all, I think, like, shines a light on the public perception of video games at the time, which for the most part, I think, was that they were all shooter arcade cabinets and dim lit bars and arcades, you know, and it's like, it's talking about how, like, there is more diversity to be had if you embrace it, you know, and I think it's cool. Like I said, it's surprising because it is like, I think it is a deeper editorial and analytical approach to this topic than you see in any of the other video game mags that we've seen to date. So, like, all the shitting on this that we've done, despite the fact that I think you've kind of caveated with exactly what this exemplifies. Yeah. Like, it's very interesting to me how, like, I don't know, how adult of a thought idea, right, you know, whatever that it is.
But it's fascinating at the same time, though, because I guess inherently kind of believe this as well, but I put everything else, all those other games, into the strategy bucket, and I was just like, nah, you know, like, give me the cosmic battles and shooting. Like, I want that stuff. And now, clearly, I love all the stuff now, you know, so.
Yep.
Like, give me an RPG, I'll play it all day now. But, like, at the time, I was just like, meh, shooting, give it to me.
Yeah. Just not taking the time to that, and, you know, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It is literally a call to action to, like, stop and, like, no, wait, this is good too. Just pay attention, you know.
Yep. I definitely never read this. This would
right. And then they have another one of these kind of, and it's the next feature is a thought provoking piece that closing the mag out that's titled "From Computer to Nintendo: 2 Excellent New Games." And they're clearly dealing by saying from computer to Nintendo, they're talking about porting from the PC to the NES here. And the best part of this to me is that they're going with Ultima as one of their excellent new games. And then Nobunaga's ambition. And they talk a bunch more shit about action games in here too. For a long time, the public seemed to be happy to buy an endless stream of games involving ninjas, Rambo clones, and kidnapped princesses. And oh snap, he's talking about your mama. That's like what that's what I read to be.
So what's wrong with those games?
Yeah,
what's wrong with them? I like to
right,
say
yeah.
the princess, yo.
Yeah, it was like very, very fiery. It's a very fiery way to put it, I thought. And it closes out with some real talk from this writer. He says, taken together, these two outstanding and path-breaking games herald a new age in Nintendo entertainment. And Jay, what are your thoughts on this? That Ultima is a path-breaking game that heralds a new age in Nintendo entertainment.
Yeah, it breaks the pact between gamers who expect quality and trust from their game developers, and now adds a layer of skepticism into all games.
I think you have to take into account, though, Jay, that this is even pre-Dragon Warrior's not even out yet. So Ultima is that. God. Ultima is the only thing on the NES like that, you know. And as fucked up as it is.
Honestly, this is breakthrough moment. Like this is it's moments like this that caused me to shun the entire category. You know what I mean? Like if I were to see something like this and my exposure is a game like Ultima, then I'm immediately like, screw the quote-unquote strategy game because they are garbage. You know, like I don't want anything. But like, yeah, if you'd given me Final Fantasy or freaking Dragon Warrior or something and kind of guided me kind of with the strategy guides the way that they did it, but if I was, you know, on that ride at the time, different perspective altogether. But at the time, I'm like, garbage, boo.
Ultima, yeah. Bring
me more Mario.
It's just hilarious to me how much Ultima is in this magazine. I fucking loved it.
But like, I think it's honestly too just clearly execution with Ultima, but the genre obviously being so new, the tools not being as developed to where you can't really. Like, if you don't have the time and all the tools and
I mean, honestly, an adult, like you said, we talked about it, like Jab and I, even being, we were already we did not experience Ultima until we were predisposed to Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy both. Like, Ultima came into our lives after that, so we already had like a more savvy understanding of that gaming type, and we still were like Jab said, he's like, I turned that on like as a child, and it's just literally like, it might as well have been in fucking Japanese. Like, there's no chance I can figure any of this out. You know, it's way too fucked up. There's not nearly enough information there to interpret all the things you need to interpret to be able to get anywhere. So yeah, I mean, they just didn't have it figured out yet for sure. There's no question about that. You know. What are you going to do? There's a few ads to be found in here as well. We have Acclaim's WrestleMania with some hardcore Hulkamania action.
Yeah.
You know when you see that shirt starts to rip, you're going to the mat, brother.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Yeah. Hey, you have a Tension deal with Gauntlet, RBI1, Tetris, and Pac-Man. We've seen that a bunch of times, or at least very similar things to it. And the back cover is for a Data East Batman game I've never fucking heard of called Batman the Caped Crusader. And I started looking at this, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And like, I'm Googling shit, and I even posted on our socials about it.
Yeah.
Never hitting the NES for clocking in the fine print at the bottom of this that it is for the Commodore 64, the Amiga, and the Atari ST. And how weird is it that they're advertising for this in an NES mag? Like,
right?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think of is, like we said, we talked about earlier how in there they have that other magazine, and that's obviously they have a foot in that world, you know. So they're able to
cross-gen all the platforms.
Exactly. So they're probably able to like. And it's Batman, so you know there's a bunch of money behind it, you know. So like they probably were able to cajole whoever like Data East. Like, I know it's a little bit on sides of the thing, but like, you know, they clearly didn't have every fucking advertising slot fucking taken care of or filled in this magazine. So outside of that first third, so they probably were like, you know, how about we'll cut you a halvesy on what we charge you for the other magazine if you want to go on the back of this too, and maybe lure some people over to, you know. That's probably how they sold that, I would guess. But yeah, I mean, I was just again like. I had a moment of like, how the fuck did I not know about this Batman game on the NES?
Like, I definitely did not have any of these systems, but the game looks cool. But like the art, I'm kind of like, wait a minute, like I want to play that, and clearly that's what they were going for. So you're like, oh, hold on, let me go check that out.
I guess yeah. I mean, even someone who didn't have it, you know, there's had to be a handful of kids out there that had the sway and the family to be like, not only do I need this game, you have to go out and buy me an Amiga.
Right, like, I need to play this game. Like, Mom, you know Batman is the man. Like, what are you talking about, Mom?
Yeah.
And she's like, sure, son. Like, yeah.
Here's a Benny. Go buy whatever you need to buy.
For a second, I actually thought this might have been like what they originally planned to do before reskinning everything with the Batman movie.
Oh,
Then
yeah,
I realized,
yeah.
okay, it's not.
No. It is, yeah. I don't think, that was not out yet. So that was not the most logical thought process. That's funny. Yeah, that did not occur to me. I was not able to retrofit my mind enough.
That's the Airwolf title theme bringing us in. Another hot track for this very
nominations from yesteryear.
Right? Like, interesting nomination session.
Yeah. This is exactly what, I've talked about a bunch of times, how, like, I love the way this is geared, how we, like, we'll see these little moments in our timeline where we can go back and play a game that, maybe is long forgotten or long past the possibility of being played. So, yeah, I love that this is a possibility for us. But I'm curious, very curious to hear what we're going to end up deciding on, and even what we're talking about deciding on. So I'm pretty sure I went last time. That's how we ended up on Captain Skyhawk, wasn't it? So
yeah.
you go first this time.
Yeah, so first, Xevious. It was definitely in an ad earlier, and it's a flying game, clearly early generation game. It's near and dear to my heart. We've talked about it before. Yeah, Xevious. Second, Guerrilla War. I mean, I nominated it back when we were talking Game Pro number 2. It's still good. Like, it's on our games worth playing list. Like, I still think it has...
Have we done it? We haven't done any of those, like... Well, Contra, I guess. We did Contra. Or Super C. We did Super Contra, rather. I think that's... But I don't think we've done a single one of those vertical scrolling war shmup deals.
I feel like we did something
similar.
No,
Heavy Barrel. We did Heavy Barrel.
Heavy Barrel, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But, yeah, I mean, there's enough, and this magazine did enough.
We did Jackal, too. We did Jackal.
We did Jackal. That's
We've done like 50 of them. We just get they're all this. We can't remember. That's great.
And then third, I wasn't sure. So I originally thought Metroid. Because I didn't know how long it would be. So I figured, Metroid, let's throw it out there. But I feel like there's so many games that I could have just kind of thrown on here that I don't know. I'm kind of open. So what are your nominations, Josh?
Okay. I got Ninja Gaiden.
Okay. I thought that might get put on the list. I thought.
Still, I mean, like I already told you, it's a white whale. I think it's fucking going to be miserable times. But it would be really satisfying to beat. Paperboy. Which I forgot to change my background the entire time, but Paperboy.
Sorry, I
didn't. What are you gonna do? Maybe I'll fix it in post. Paperboy, and that's a game. It's not a ton of stuff. It's gonna be just like a light. It's very arcadey, of course. It is an arcade port, so it's very arcadey. There's obviously not a lot of story content. It's super fun. The NES one is like, it's a little janky. I think like it's hard to. Even, like, I've played it and I like it, and it's still really, really difficult to get good enough at to really... Because, like, the goal is to get... you have to... If you miss one fucking paper, if you fuck up one house, you lose the subscriber. So to gain subscribers back, you have to get all of them correct to get one more subscriber the next day.
Whoa, I did not know that.
Yeah, if the goal is... I mean, and maybe that's not the goal. Maybe the goal is just high score and whatever. But to me, completion, I believe... is getting the entire block to subscribe. So the idea, however many houses you start with, that you have to go, I don't know how many days it would be perfectly to get all the houses subscribed. It seems impossible to me. I don't know how the hell that's possible. So like there's no, that's the one thing about the idea is like, I think it would be kind of fun to play and bullshit about, but I don't know how much like we're just going to be talking about, like we did for Dig Dug or something, where we're just talking about like an arcadey little, pick a few nuanced things about it that are fun and the little mechanics and stuff that you like or you exploited or what have you. But yeah, it doesn't have your traditional game episode thing going on with it. And then the last one is Gyrus.
Is which one?
Gyrus.
Oh, okay.
Gyrus.
Okay.
So if we're gonna do a flying shmup, fuck you, Xevious. Like, let's do Gyrus.
That is okay.
Do you trust me enough with the flying shmup to do another one that you're not?
I don't know.
Really...
I don't know. How that's that turned out to be different than I thought. Yeah. I mean, with Paperboy is one of those games that clearly is imprinted in my childhood memory because of all the advertisements everywhere. You know what I mean? But I never. Maybe I rented it for a day or two once and maybe tried it. I can't remember. It's definitely not memorable. I just know it was every freaking where.
Yeah.
So I had a big marketing arm behind it. So
yeah, I don't even know if I ever rented it. I think it was just one of those games that I played enough of it just at random kids' houses throughout my childhood to be familiar enough with it to have.
Dude, I wasn't even familiar with the setup. The fact that you told me how it worked, I'm like, oh, I had no clue. So even if I rented it, I just was throwing papers at mailboxes and avoiding stuff. Like I had no grasp of the actual point. So I guess I'd definitely be interested, even though I would have never thought. I kind of skimmed past that one. I'm like, oh, it's Paperboy. But kind of hearing the setup, I'm like, all right, it has enough of a draw of competition, like how good can I get at this to where I could potentially do that.
It is 2 players. I think we could fire it up. I mean, it's obviously not co-op, but we could fire it up and do some quasi head-to-head stuff with it too. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Gyrus. Yeah, I mean, Ninja Gaiden, I don't know, man. I don't know if the next month is the time to do Ninja Gaiden.
Right, yeah, and that's kind of my thing too. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna have any fucking time to do that for sure. But, I mean, once I get these things, fucking, I don't have anything to do on my Oculus. Like, I have no. I still have that survival horror game, but I don't know if I'll ever fucking get anywhere. And it's just too exhausting of an experience. So I keep thinking about doing it, and then I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna play fucking Walkabout instead. Yeah.
Dude, speaking of which, I should have brought it up during our games was playing. So Jesse told me, have you played Until You Fall on the Oculus?
I've heard of it. Yeah, it's a shooter.
He said he was just like, that is the game. Like, he played it all the way through, beat it, and he was like, I just finished it. He's like, play it. So
I'm pretty sure.
Check out.
I think I was actually in my in the league with the Walkabout League a night or two ago, and 2 nights ago I guess it was, and one of the guys on there was talking about it as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a shooter. I know I'm not gonna fucking.
What? It looked like a battle, like you're kind of like getting weapons and like fighting against enemies.
Is it? Oh, I thought I assumed
it did not look like a shooter to me.
But I mean, a melee shooter is what you're saying, though. It's still a first person, an FPS, kind of thing. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah. Either way, I could be persuaded to do Paperboy or Gyrus. I think for sure. Right now, I'd be open to either or.
Guerrilla Wars,
which are both odd selections to me, but I would also be down.
Did we put Guerrilla War on the list on the shit worth playing list?
Oh, I definitely did. Because I was looking around. Because I was like, did we? I definitely did research on this first. Because I was like, haven't we played this before? So I remember nominating it. And I saw it on the list. It's definitely on the list. But we definitely have not.
Does it have co-op?
Let's pull the list back up here. Because that I do not recall.
Seems like a game that certainly should. But... should and do are two different things on Nintendo.
Guerrilla War 1 to 2 players.
So you can play 2. So you guess it was at the same time.
There's definitely a 2-player action going on here. I don't know how it is clearly, but
at the same time though.
That I don't know.
YouTube.
it would make sense. I feel like this is the type of game
Guerrilla
that you just
War,
do.
NES,
you know?
co-op. Dun, dun, dun. That's only one player. 2 players. Yep, co-op. That's interesting.
So that aspect adds to the interest factor.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
I think Gyrus is so different that I think we're gonna, which I think this I could be saying the exact same thing I said about Captain Skyhawk. It can't be as bad. It can't. It's got to be better than Captain Skyhawk, though, right? It's got to be. This is one I feel like people talk about too, though. Captain Skyhawk. Like, when I saw Captain Skyhawk in that issue of Nintendo Power, I was like, I've never even fucking heard of this before. You know, so that came out of nowhere. So that was kind of like, a little bit of that was just like, holy shit, where did this come from? Gyrus' game, I've, like, that's a game. It's fucking Konami, isn't it? Who's the manufacturer on that?
Let's get back to the G's.
Yes. Gonna have a lot of
Ultra Software.
So yeah, it's Konami. It's fucking Konami show. So yeah, I mean, it's Konami, dude. It's got to be good. It's got to be fucking good. 36 levels is a lot, but maybe they're fast.
This kind of reminds me. I don't know why this gives me like asteroid vibes, because I think there are levels where it kind of like asteroids kind of come at you like that. Like, obviously, it's different. It's a different kind of thing, and your ship is
like,
movement.
And like a modern
like
one, you mean? A
What's
modern
that?
version of Asteroids? The old version of Asteroids,
like
is,
it just
incredibly
gives me vibes of that.
Okay.
Like, not I know your ship moves different and everything. It just kind of reminds me, which I find memories of Asteroids. So
yeah, so do I. Asteroids is a good game for sure. Okay. Well, yeah, I think I'm leaning towards. I think given our status in life right now and the dependability of fun, I think out of all the ones we've selected, I think Gyrus has the biggest potential for being enjoyably engaging.
all right, I'm down. It's flying ships, so let's
Crazy.
go.
2 times in a row. Unreal. Okay.
Who knew?
All right, yeah, who fucking knew? All right, so we're gonna play that next, and then after that we have Game Pro issue 12 and then of course another game episode before we will bop into that issue of Sega Mania Magazine, issue 1. So you can subscribe to the pod on the platform by whatever dumbass company that serves up your pod already. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on that podcast platform of choice or any other for that matter. The website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOHpod. Email us at isohpodcast@gmail.com. Follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram at ISOHpod. Link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlist is in the show notes. There is the ISOH subreddit if you want to get down with us on Reddit. And we don't have a Patreon, but if you like giving money to things podcasters tell you to, and would like to do so in our direction, the Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities, and that is cool as fuck. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. Jay, what are your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E. It is my gamer tag. It's where you can find me. Facebook, Instagram, all the places. Come fight with me in Elden Ring.
And you can find me on Twitter at Josh Folan, on Instagram at MyShiftKeyIsBroke, and on Oculus at MyShiftKeyIsBroke. Okay, bye.
Bye.